Hello everyone, this is Craig Charest, Automation Solutions Manager for NorthEast Electrical Distributors. Today's product update, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Guardlink, which is the new safety technology from Rockwell Automation. So, Guardlink is going to enable smart safety devices in the connected enterprise. There's three key traits to the Guardlink system. The first one is going to be that it's smart. It's going to provide tons of diagnostic data for all the safety components along the trunk. It's going to be simple, meaning that it's no special configurations required. It's going to use standard cables with M12 connectors. And there's going to be no special protocols needed to communicate between the devices. It's also, of course, going to be safe. Out of the box, it's going to be a PLE rating, which is tough to attain when you have the standard T connector systems. And we're going to be able to use up to 32 devices on this trunk. Here we have a common use case for the Guardlink system. We have a machine with many doors, with tons of interlocks, and a lot of e-stop switches as well. So in today's world, how do we typically get back all the diagnostic information? Well, there's a couple ways to do it. One way would be to run an individual auxiliary back from all of the devices, all the way back to the safety controller inside the main cabinet. This is going to be a very time-consuming process. It's going to require a lot of wiring, and the install is going to take very long. The other way we can do it is with distribution boxes like we see down here on the right. Same thing, we can get all the auxiliaries back, but these are now going to go back in one single home run cable instead of individual, so it cuts down a little bit on the wiring, but it's still going to require a very time-consuming install. As you can see, there's a lot of cables in the home run that go back to the cabinet, and it's a bit of a wiring mess. And the other limitation is that most of these distribution boxes, they're going to be limited at 8 connections. So you can run out pretty quick when you have a system like we have pictured here. So here we have an overview of the Guardlink system with all the components involved. So over on the left, we see an HMI interface. So with the Guardlink system, we're going to be able to interface through the HMI, and we're going to be able to get to the diagnostics. We're going to be able to remotely reset devices, lock and unlock commands, all of that through the HMI. So that's going to be allowed to happen because of the Ethernet IP access that we have through the Guardlink system with this gray module right here. This is going to allow us to network into the controller and, of course, network over to the HMI. And then to the right of the Ethernet adapter, we have the new GSR DG module, which stands for the Dual Guardlink Safety Relay. This is the module that's going to be required to interface to the trunk. It's the same form factor as all the other GuardMaster relays. It's going to support multiple links, so we can do the Guardlink connection, and then we can also do some other standard connections. Moving along the trunk, we see the main cables going from tap to tap. So we're going to use a standard 4-wire cable between each one of these, and then connecting the devices, depending on which type it is, it could be a 5-wire or an 8-wire. As I said, we can do up to 32 of these individual taps in one trunk line and still maintain a PLE. Up here we see the devices, so we can mix and match along this trunk with some regular non-contact interlock devices, just like the sensor guards here. We have some guard locking devices, and then we have some standard electromechanical contact e-stops. Up to 1,000 meter distance is how long we can have this trunk, with a maximum of 30 meters between trunks and 10 meters from the trunks to the devices. And then the biggest feature over here is has an add-on profile in Studio 5000. This means that the integration is going to be very, very easy. It's going to auto-detect all the devices within Studio, and it's going to link everything right up, generates tags, so you don't have to create anything on your own. That's going to be a huge time saver on the design end. So just to reiterate some of the key features here, Guardlink's going to enable smart components to share data where direct integration via a network is not possible, or it's just there's not enough space to add another node. It's going to be a seamless configuration with no special protocols, and all the cabling is going to be standard M12 cables. Also, we're going to be able to remote reset, lock, unlock, all via the Guardlink trunk over Ethernet. So, certain safety devices will benefit from being able to talk Ethernet IP, like we have over here. We have the MAB, we have some light curtains, and we have a safety scanner. All of these are SIP safety enabled, which as they should be. So they're going to be talking over Ethernet directly. But then we have a lot of components that they don't necessarily need to be on Ethernet IP or be able to communicate via SIP safety. But we want to get them back up to the connected enterprise and get a little bit of diagnostics. Guardlink's going to allow us to bring in all these safety inputs and into the connected enterprise, giving us connectivity across all platforms. When something happens to our machines, we can now have instant access to where it happened, what to do, and how to fix it. So ISO 14119, this is the standard safety standard that focuses on door interlocks. The most recent revision of the standard has made it very difficult to achieve a performance level D, even if you have more than one electromechanical contact in series for your door switches. This, of course, means that performance level E's are basically unobtainable unless you have some smarter switches on your doors. This might not seem like a big issue, but if you've never been required to maintain a performance level E, but as a distributor of Rockwell Automation products, we're starting to see more and more large companies move towards the performance level E as the standard across all their machines. So with Guardlink, default masking like we see up here, which happens when you have, it can happen when you have more than one electromechanical contact, it's just not possible with the Guardlink system. So now, in comparison to the basic safety T connectors that we have over here, which is pretty common right now, the significant decrease in response time is going to be one of the biggest features when you're going from the standard tap system to the Guardlink system. It's going to allow you to have much shorter safe distance calculations, which can in turn give you some more space on your plant floor. As we see, we got about a 75% reduction in response time using the Guardlink system with 10 SensiGuards via the trunk compared to the standard T's over here. So some benefits again. So as I already mentioned, we have a significant reduction in wiring. We can use 4 conductors instead of the typical 8-pin conductors that we use in the standard safety T wiring system. The safety signals are going to be shared over a wire along with the diagnostics info. That's how we can reduce one of those pins. And lastly, the ability to remotely control and unlock, lock, reset. I believe this feature is going to be very big for many of our customers who are utilizing the guard locking switches, specifically the 440G LZs. So here's a closer look at the tap itself. There's going to be 4 basic models. There's a 5-pin and an 8-pin M12 connector, and there's an OSSD version for the 5 and 8-pin. There's also a electromechanical version for the 5 and 8-pin. As I mentioned a few times, it's going to support guard locking devices. It's going to provide device location and status info via the Guardlink trunk back to the GSR relay. It's got 2 bright LED indicators. One's for the device status and one's for the comms. Pretty small size, 40 millimeter width. It's going to fit on the standard, aluminum 8020 with the mounting brackets. and TUV approved. Performance level E, SIL 3 right out of the box. IP67 environmental rating. Here's a look at the new GSR relay, the DG. So it's going to support Guardlink, of course, but you can also just use it for regular standard electromechanical or OSSD devices that aren't via the Guardlink. It's got local controls on front, a couple of push buttons. We got the configure button right there and another setting button, and a rotary dial for the time delays. So we have a number of different functions that can be performed with this. There's a lot of different combos. There's actually 20 of them. We can also do, like I mentioned, we can do time delays, and we can do safe torque off category 1 stops. A big difference with this relay compared to all the other regular GSR relays are to be able to device reset it. You can do it via the buttons on front instead of having to power cycle it or switch power to the relay. So that's going to be pretty handy. Has a couple of configurable multi-purpose terminals that you can configure for safety inputs, outputs, and standard signals. It's got a couple of relay outputs for some higher loads. And then, of course, it's got the connectivity to the network, which is via the optical link, which is actually back here. You can see it a little bit. So it's a optical bus that goes between all the relays and back to the gray module, which has to be in the front of the stack. That's what's used to basically get all the information back via Ethernet. And then, of course, it's going to support single wire safety, so we can cascade to more relays down the line. So here we just have an overview of the actual technology and how it works via the 4 wires. We have the GSR DG relay, which acts as the master up here. It's going to manage the comms and execute the safety function, just like all the other GSR relays. Looking at the 4 wires down here, we have 24 volts in common via the A1 and A2 connections on the GSR. Then right here we have the CLU wire, which stands for the command, lock, and unlock connection. This is going to manage operation modes and initiates the lock-unlock feature. Lastly, we have the Guardlink connection. This wire is going to carry the safety signal or the diagnostics depending on the status of the links. Also over here we have the Guardlink specific terminator. This is going to be required at the end of the trunk to be able to operate the whole trunk properly. If you don't have this, the link won't work, the signals aren't going to come back, so it's going to be required. Here's some of the part numbers. This is all the part numbers involved in the system actually. We have the Guardmaster relay up top. Then we have the Ethernet adapter that you'll need if you want to connect to the network. You don't actually need the Ethernet adapter if you have just some simple switches and you want to use the Guardlink trunk. But if you want to do any remote unlocking, locking, resetting, it's going to need to be done over Ethernet, and it's going to need to be the latest version, the Series B version of the Ethernet adapter. And then we have the 4 part numbers for the Guardlink taps: 5-pin electromechanical, 8-pin electromechanical, 5-pin solid state, 8-pin solid state. And then here's that special terminator that's required. And then we have a couple of the recommended patch cord sets. So these are the 18 gauge wire versions. You can use 22 gauge, but we would highly recommend just using the 18 gauge across the whole system, which is going to minimize your voltage drop. That can come into play depending on what you have on the trunk. And then down here at the bottom we have the mounting brackets. So that's all for today. If you have any questions on the Guardlink system or any other Rockwell Automation industrial control, sensors, or safety products, feel free to reach out to myself, Craig, or my colleague Dave Champion via email. Thanks for tuning in to the June product update. See you soon.